Well, thank you all for coming, and thank you to Chris and to Mike and to Leah for organizing all this. I certainly do appreciate it. Like I said before, my name is Mike Burns. I am the Program Resource Manager for the American Tree Farm System, which is a vague enough title that I get to do a whole bunch of things. I'm kind of consider my real position as utility infielder. But one of the jobs that I get to do that I'm really excited about and like the most is working with the foresters. And the reason that I get to work with the foresters so much is because I have a good background in it. Not only my degree is in forestry, but before I got on the payroll 2 years ago, I'd been involved with the American Tree Farm System for 15 years as an inspecting forester. And of those 15 years, I spent 13 years on the state committee, and 8 of those 13 years I was in a 2-year term as chair of the New York State Tree Farm Committee. So I got a good background on it, and I have appreciation for the volunteer work that the foresters do, and I really, really do enjoy working with you all. So now you get to figure out, is this I'm going to use or something else?
No.
Just hit it? Okay. I can do that. Although I've got it on PowerPoint, it's mostly just to help me remember what I'm going through and doing here. So if you have any questions at any time.
If you want to go to the next slide, just hit tab.
Tab? Okay. Just shout out to me.
Spacebar.
Spacebar. Hey, there we go. Keep hitting buttons till something works. So, a little bit of background. I know a lot of you are familiar with the American Tree Farm System, but just give me a second. We'll do some background. The American Tree Farm System is one of the programs of the American Forest Foundation. In addition to Tree Farm, there's Project Learning Tree. There's what we're calling the conservation initiatives, doing a lot of place-based conservation work, particularly right now in Wisconsin and Mississippi. We also have a good communications shop, and I'll be touching base on that later, along with our public affairs, our policy division, who is really the voice of the small family forest landowner in Washington, D.C., and then I'll touch on our development staff as well. So, this is the entirety of the tree farm staff in Washington, D.C. If you think there's 100 people working there, that's not the case. There's just the 7 of us. Well, 7 and a half. Grace Holly started about 2 weeks ago as a summer intern, so it is a real small and lean staff. Bettina started 1 year and 1 month ago, and she's been a great person to work for and work with. She has a background in state forestry in Virginia and worked with Tree Farm there. And she also lived and worked right here in Colorado for a long time doing easements and conservation work. So we're very happy to have her. If any of you in the past worked with Amy Yamber, Amy was with Tree Farm for a very long time. Amy recently left to take a position as a volunteer coordinator at the Central Park Zoo. And luckily we have Sarah Anrich on staff to fill in her position. So we've got a really good crew to work with, and I'm very happy and pleased and excited to work for them. Now, if you're not certain of who to call anytime you have a problem, there's 2 ways you can do it. First of all, you can all fight over the one sheet I have over there. That's a who to call list in our office. But also, if you go on the Tree Farm website, we do have on there a PDF of who to call for whatever your question is. If you have a question on certification, it's probably going to be either Sarah or Justin. But anything you've got any questions on with Tree Farm, you know who to call. So, oops, spacebar, that's right. How many of you are familiar with the Partnership for Better Forest initiative? Okay, Mike was. So, almost 2 years ago now, we launched what we called the Partnership for Better Forests. It was originally going to run just the last quarter of 2011, and it was an idea that was hatched where we would give $100 dues incentive towards SAF for anybody who completed 2 either optional re-inspections or new tree farm inspections. So, and we wanted to see if we could get more boots on the ground, more inspections done, get them done sooner, get them to see people they wouldn't have had. And your show of hands here shows one of the things that we discovered after we finished the program, which was that we need to do a better job of communicating out there that these programs are available. So 40% of the foresters we surveyed afterward weren't aware that the program was available. We ended up just running it, we extended it out to 12 months, and again, it was just a trial period, not something we were going to keep doing year after year, but just one of the many tests and pilots that we've been working on at National to see what works. So when we did it, again, 40% of our foresters didn't know that we had that available. 90% of the people who did receive the incentive, and there were, what are my numbers here, 133 people who qualified for the incentive. 90% of them would have said they would have done them anyways. 70% said they visited the properties they would have anyways. So this incentive didn't exactly achieve the goals we were looking for, but it did tell us a lot. One thing it told us is that they did do it a lot quicker than they would have otherwise. And the second thing it showed us is what's up there right now. And that is that they liked having the dues incentive. Even if they didn't take advantage of it, they liked to know that we understood the sacrifice they were making and we appreciated it. And some of the things we got back from them was that they wanted that appreciation, even if it's something as small as a hat or a thank you, just some little recognition. So, Wes, that's something we're now working with the state committees on to ensure that each state does have not a recognition program per se, because that's been around for a very long time between the hard hats and the Inspector of the Year, but really more of an appreciation, just a little token thank you that they can send out. So that's what we found out in that test that we ran last year. Why do I keep hitting the wrong button? Okay, so some just general updates to the American Tree Farm System program. My main responsibility the last 2 years was working with 4 states that we were piloting different things and approaches in. Those states were Missouri, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and South Carolina. Okay? One of the things that we tested was we had them all do strategic planning and saw how that worked out. We provided them funding for a paid administrator, so that the burden of administering the program and doing the certification wasn't on the volunteers, it was on paid staff. And the other thing that we tested out was a fee-based membership program, where in order to be a certified tree farmer, you had to pay a fee. Well, that didn't work out very well, or actually I should say it worked out about as like it was predicted it would. And in the end of the day, it was recommended that we not move forward with it on a national level because the attrition that we would have was unacceptable. Unfortunately, one of those things is that Tree Farm hasn't been charged for its 70-year history, and trying to go from $0 to $100 per tree farm was too big of a jump. Now, that being said, there was still the point that how are we going to pay for the program? You may have noticed it already. If you're a tree farmer, you should have received at least 1, probably 2 mailings inviting you to donate to help support the American Tree Farm System. And as part of that, you would be able to receive our new publications, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So the approach went from fee-based membership, pay-to-play, to we're going to increase our asking of the tree farmers and others. So we've actually beefed up our development staff, our people out there looking for grants and soliciting donations from large corporations and soliciting from tree farmers who really get a lot of the benefits of the program. Second thing that we're doing right now, in the next 3 years, each state program is going to have the opportunity to either say, yes, we want to remain a certified tree farm program, or say, you know what, certification isn't something that makes sense here, and we want to go back to being just a recognition program. So sometime between now and the end of 2015, Colorado and each of the other 43 state programs is going to have an opportunity to look at themselves, see what it means to be a certified tree farm program, see what it means to just be a recognition program, and make that decision. And sometime between 2015 and 2018, if you do decide that, yes, we do want to remain a certified tree farm program, we're going to help you find ways to assist, not pay for all of it, but help us cover some of the charges involved with the certification. Okay? Another big thing that we've been working on diligently is the 004 form. Everybody familiar with this one? Those big paper forms, and they're carbonless now. They used to be carbon, but now they're carbonless. And the paper forms that come out, well, the machine that makes those that prints those out is about the size of a refrigerator, and it's about 30 years old. So it is about 20 years beyond its useful life and is completely obsolete. It's also slow. Not only is it slow on that end, but it's slow on the field end as well. One of the things we discovered when we did the Partnership for Better Forest is that there's a huge time lag between when the field work is done and when the paperwork finally gets filed in the office. On a national average, it's 36 days on a reinspection between the field date and when it's finally entered, and 51 days on new certifications. That's a national average. In Colorado, those averages are 45 days for a reinspection and 65 days for a new inspection. Having to wait 2 months in some areas and sometimes 3 months for certification when you're bringing in a new client, that's unacceptable. So what tools can we provide you to speed that up? Well, one is we're making the 004 forms available electronically. They are PDF fill-in forms. You can do it all up on your computer. Just send them through. And sending it from yourself to your district chair to the state chair, that email chain, that is considered sufficient. Same as your signature is on the bottom. We've worked this out with the auditors on our certification. The next thing we're working on, the next evolution of that, is that we're going to work on an app for your smartphone where your 004 will be right there. And you'll have drop-down windows and all sorts of good stuff to be able to really get it done quick and submit it almost instantly. So our office is actually going to be moving. We've been subleasing from the American Forest and Paper Association for, good heavens, longer than I've been involved with tree farms, so at least 20, 25 years. And we're moving to a new office, and quite honestly, we don't want to bring that giant, huge, obsolete, heavy machine across town to our new office. So, the Woodland Magazine and the Tree Farmer Bulletin. I have copies of both of those over here on the table. Please take them. I'm not taking them back east with me, so if you don't pick them up here, Mike and Wes and everybody else is going to be distributing them. You remember the Tree Farmer Magazine? Well, we phased that out. It is now the Tree Farmer Bulletin, which, instead of a magazine, is more of a broadsheet, still full color, about 8 pages, and it has all the good, let's face it, hardcore, technical, good information that tree farmers need, want, desire, and care for. The Woodlands magazine, though, actually looks at a broader audience. If you're talking in a national program with 88,000 tree farmers, and only about 5,000 or 6,000 of them were subscribing to the magazine, we needed to appeal to a larger audience. So we've introduced Woodland Magazine, which is, again, for a broader audience, hoping to reach the unengaged landowners, the people who haven't yet started working with a forester. And we'll talk about other tools we have for those people as well, to really meet them where they are and work them along the path to stewardship at their own comfortable pace. So that's that. And finally is this focus on strategic planning. I mentioned before with the 4 pilot states I'm working on, we had them go through a strategic planning process to really think about and then enumerate what their goals and objectives are. Well, it's no different than a tree farmer. We require tree farmers to have a written and adaptive and forest management plan. Same thing with our committees now. They really need to have a written and active business plan, if you will, a plan of action. So we are working with all of our committees to get them to a point where they're ready to do that strategic planning, and then we're providing personnel to do it. Wes, you and I are going to be talking later. So that's what we've got going on. Those are really the big changes in the last year and what we're looking at going forward. And what are we looking at going forward? Well, this is what we're looking at going forward. I mentioned that we're getting the state programs to do strategic planning. Well, we practice what we preach. We've gone through our strategic planning, and these are our priorities for the next few years. And you'll pay particular note to that one on the bottom. We really need to become much more self-sustaining. Sustainability is not just about making sure you're growing trees. Sustainability is also ensuring that the next generation can keep those forests as forests. It's also ensuring that our own long-term financial health and stability of the organization. It's also about making sure that we're training the proper leaders to take over this organization as we go forward. So, those are our priorities. Now we're going to talk about some of the tools that we're going to use to build the capacity to build our capabilities to achieve those goals and objectives. How many of you are familiar with our webinar series? Okay, good. Quite a few of you. We've got a couple of different webinar series going on. Okay, this is the Tree Farm webinar series. It's usually about 1 hour once a month. The day varies, usually based upon the availability of the speakers, but it's usually early afternoon Eastern time, so around lunchtime out here. And that way we can accommodate as many time zones as possible. The topics are on forest health, whether it's emerald ash borer, thousand cankers disease, estate planning, mountain pine beetle, trail design, birds, whoever we can get, whatever is of interest to the tree farmers, the landowners, that's what we try to have available. If you can't join in right then when we're offering it, these are archived on our website. So you can go back, you can look, you can watch, you can listen to it at your own pace. Some of the upcoming webinars that we have just happen to be that they're both on the July 10th. The first one is going to be on the Grass Tops webinar. The Grass Tops are really our leaders in the advocacy at the state level. And then one on mapping your land and using my land plan for the most part. So if you're interested, again, go to Tree Farm System website and click on the link that says webinar series.
And Mike,
Yes.
that is open to the public.
That is everything I tell you here today, everything that we have at the American Tree Farm System, at the American Forest Foundation, is available at no cost, with the exception, I will say, of the magazine, which is a subscription rate. So all these other tools are of no cost. I just spoke about how we're looking at the long term and where our leadership is coming from. Well, one of the discussions we had shortly after the National Leadership Conference was that we don't have enough opportunities for our leaders to really learn and develop the skills that they need to ensure that the program is sustainable going into the future. We heard a lot of people saying that you had great concurrent sessions, I just wish I could go to all of them. So we're trying this out. This is what we're testing. We're testing a new leadership and professional development webinar. Okay? It will be the second Tuesday of every month from 11 till noon local time here in Mountain Time Zone. And you can join us for a variety of topics. The past ones we had, one of them was on how to do presentations. We have a lot of PowerPoints available for you to use on our website. You can adapt them for your own business, for whatever the local topics are. Put in some pictures that really resonate with people here in Colorado. The sort of information you need to do the planning and execution of that workshop is available, archived on our website. And the other one that we did so far was ensuring successful leadership, and that's first and foremost, how do you develop a job description? Whether it's an inspecting forester, whether it's the state chair, I don't care if it's SAF or tree farm, you still need a job description. Person needs to know what they're getting into and realistically what it's all about. So if you want to be able to recruit somebody, which is coming up in the future as one of the other webinar series, you have to have that job description. Coming up, the next one that we're doing on, July 9th, is talking about the certification choice process that I mentioned earlier. Each of our states is going to have an opportunity to choose whether they stay as a certification program or become a recognition program, and Sarah Crow, our certification manager, will be talking about that. And we've got John Burke, who is the current chair of the Board of Trustees of AFF. He's going to be doing a webinar on conducting and effective meetings. So, pardon me. Good tool to have. You know, how do you set the agenda? How do you make sure you get through what it is that you want to do? Accomplish what you want to accomplish. Okay, so who here has heard of my land plan? Okay, we're going to be pushing this. We've been pushing this. I was pushing this week for the Association of Consulting Foresters. We launched this a year ago. It's a website, mylandplan.org. There are bookmarks and brochures and all sorts of goodies over here on the table regarding that. And again, it's to help landowners and give them information about their land, to get them from doing nothing because they either don't know or aren't aware of what can and should be done, to moving at their own pace and creating a plan. Okay? It's good information, it's technical information, but it's not jargon-filled information. And we present it to them in ways that, you know, is non-threatening and very easy for them to interpret. For example, what do you want to do with your property? This isn't what management steps do you want to take. This is what do you want to do with your property. Do you want to enjoy it? Do you want to protect it? Yes, I want to protect it. All right, what do you want to protect it from? I want to protect it from wildfire. Great. So now they've got that established as one of their goals, and they can go through, find out information on how to protect their properties from fire, and then check off on what their individual steps that they can take would be. Okay? Then, once they're ready, they can send all this file to a local forester and say, hey, I've got my property here. It's all mapped out. These are my goals and objectives. Would you give me a hand with this? So it's meeting them where they are, letting them progress at their own speed down the path of stewardship. For the most part, tree farmers are already well beyond this. Okay? But if you're working with your neighbors and you want to get them going, or you've got some forestry clients that aren't up to that point yet, this is a great resource for them. So, again, who can use it? The landowners can use it to establish their plan. Don can tell you a great success story about it, where he set it up for a property that he and his family owned, and they were able to set up an account so that they could all look at the same thing at the same time and be on the same page. Now, at the same time, as a forester, I can advertise my services on this. I can go in there, log on as a forester, put down who I am, what areas I serve, which of these target goals I subscribe to, my credentials, that I'm a tree farm certified inspecting forester, and everything else. And then I show up over here on the landowner's page as the forester that's nearest to them. So it's a great way to advertise your business, and for the landowners, it's a great way to develop goals and objectives. And from my days as a consulting forester, that was usually the most difficult thing to do working with a landowner, is to draw out of them what their goals and objectives are. So it's a great tool. Now, communications, we talked before about the Woodland magazine. Each of these publications is quarterly. Woodland, again, compelling stories, articles, easy to read format, great photos. So it's targeted again at unengaged or recently engaged landowners as opposed to the Tree Farm Bulletin. Again, we do have extra copies over here, and they are available by subscription. If you want just the Woodland magazine, it's $16, and if you want them both, it's only $5 more. So actually, it's less than that. It's only $4 more. How's that for a deal? I'm making deals here for you. Another project we've been working on, good Lord, I've been busy when I go through this and look at all this stuff, is we're working with the Society of American Foresters, and with a grant that was provided by the U.S. Forest Service, the American Forest Foundation came up with this workshop that's called Expand Your Base. And in a little bit, we'll do a very condensed version of that It's about a half-day program when you stretch it all out. But it's a workshop for foresters about communications. Okay? When I went to school at Syracuse, they taught me a boatload about tree identification and management and trail plans and layouts and all that other stuff. You know what they didn't teach me? How to ask the right questions to pull that information out of a landowner that's really important and necessary, and how to relate to the landowner. Forest management is as much about people management as it is forests. So we'll talk about this as well, and how do you identify these groups of people, and how do you get them to, how do you work with them most effectively? Now, our policy division has been very busy lately. They were extremely busy with the Farm Bill. We were ecstatic when they passed it out of committee. We were thrilled when the Senate passed it, and we were crushed when the House refused to do so. But setbacks are part of working with government, particularly an elected government. So, but some of the other stuff that we've done, just this past year in May, we had a fly-in in Washington, D.C., where our grassroots and grass tops leaders from across the country actually flew in and met with the representatives and senators in their offices so that they could tell the story of the family forest owner. So that when things like the Farm Bill do come up, they can connect this idea, to a person and how it's going to affect them. Why do we need EQIP funding? That's just ridiculous. Well, we need EQIP funding because we've got thousands of landowners out there who are diligently trying to get rid of invasive species. And they can't do it alone because all it takes is their neighbors not doing it, and it gets back onto their property. So they were there telling that story, and hopefully it connected. And maybe that's part of the reason we got the Farm Bill through the Senate. Tom Martin, the president and CEO of the American Forest Foundation, is often up on the Hill testifying before Congress and the various committees. We talked about the Farm Bill. And finally, this is our big subject for this year. We have actually a policy committee that sits down and looks forward and says, okay, what are we going to focus our time and effort on this year? And what they came up with was the Free the Trees campaign. And that's, again, about the exotic plants and diseases and bugs that are affecting our forests, and how to keep our forests healthy. So that's been the big thing this year that we're working on, is our Free the Trees campaign. Okay? So that's some of the tools and programs that we're working on. Everything, again, except for the magazines, are available at absolutely no cost to you. And here's another benefit for foresters to be involved with us at the American Tree Farm System and the American Forest Foundation, is we give you the credit. You deserve more, and we're working on that and making sure that you are recognized for what you do. But we've got a great partnership between Tree Farm and SAF to ensure that you do get credits for your participation. Okay? So be sure, like Chris said, to sign up on the sheet before you leave here today, because you will get 4 hours from that. One final plug. I've let you know that all of these things are available at no cost through the American Tree Farm System, but everything has a cost. So if you like the work we do, if you support the work we do, if you think the work we do is worthwhile, something that you can do to help us out when you're on the website is click that little red button up in the upper right-hand corner that says Donate. Make a small donation to help ensure that we can keep providing these services to yourselves and your neighbors. So, in conclusion, which is, of course, the best part of the program, this is who we are at the American Tree Farm System. We work on the ground. And thanks to you, our network of volunteers and professionals, we are the boots on the ground in the field, helping forest landowners learn by doing. And we are your voice in Washington, D.C. We give people the tools they need to be effective stewards of America's natural heritage by keeping their forests healthy and productive. And we're about the future. And again, the future is not just the sustainability of trees. That's important, but there's more to it. We work with families on their intergenerational planning to keep the forest in the family. We work with policymakers to ensure that the forests are a viable option for families. So That's what I had prepared remarks, so what questions do you have for me now?